So, good morning and welcome to High Plains Miracles. We have an outstanding material for you today. We're going to be reading a section called Finding the Present from chapter 13, section 6. One could say that this is like the key to being released from the ego's nightmare, the ego's concept that would keep you locked into a little life and a misunderstanding of creation and your purpose. So it is a key. It's a key available to everybody. It's one that in many ways is right in front of you. You have to open your mind to appreciate it and let it in. And once you do that, it begins a process of your learning to access that key and utilize it for you. It's a key in your mind's awareness. So I'm really glad that you're all able to be here to share this. We'll jump right into our reading. David?
Finding the present. To perceive truly is to be aware of all reality through the awareness of your own. But for this, no illusions can rise to meet your sight, for reality leaves no room for any error. This means that you perceive a brother only as you see him now. His past has no reality in the present, so you cannot see it. Your past reactions to him are also not there. And if it is to them that you react, you see but an image of him that you made and cherish instead of him. In your questioning of illusions, ask yourself if it is really sane to perceive what was as now. If you remember the past as you look upon your brother, you will be unable to perceive the reality that is now.
Mm-hmm. So, right away, the first sentence prepares us for a rather significant undertaking, which is to perceive truly and to be aware of all reality. That's the goal here. This is why I call it the key to unlocking the mystery of how to be free, to perceive all reality. How? Through the awareness of your own reality. You were created by the Creator. The Creator has instilled part of his nature and being within you. To be aware of that reality is to be aware of all reality. The key is literally with you at all times. So it's no doubt that it's available to us, but there are obstacles in the way of realizing that it's there. And there are also aids to help you remember that it's there. One of the aids is every encounter you ever have with another enables you to perceive a brother only as he is right now. So your every encounter is a holy encounter with another who has the same spiritual nature as you have, and therefore can serve as a access point for you, a point of recognition for you to realize that the reality of your brother and your own reality are the same. They're the same as the reality of the creator. So all that is true. What prevents us from accessing that are the illusions that fill our minds and get in the way. And that we'll call those ego illusions. And they are preoccupied with illusions, false representations that come from your past. So instead of recognizing right now the individuals that are in this group, that are here in this meeting, as beings of light, the ego would have us think in terms of our past impressions, our past judgments. These are short little representations that we walk around in within our mind of people. And we the other day we did this with, we'll use an example. Think for a moment about your mother and what your understanding of your mother is. What turns out when we do that, we're not taking into account the entirety of your mother's being. What people typically do is they have a short little summary statement that is their private statement, private judgment about their mother. And it's that we call to mind. And we call that to mind from our own past experiences with our mother or another person. And this is what the ego uses to obscure our awareness from the truth of the reality of the person that we're with, that we're encountering right now. So, two sides of a coin. One is the key to your salvation, that is your true being, the reality that the Creator gave you and that you share with everyone else. That's always with you. And then the other side of that is the obstacles to that awareness, which are little judgments and grievances and complaints, little thinking based on past experiences. And so this will recur throughout our reading today. So that's why we want to make sure it's very clear right up front. Let's go on.
You consider it natural to use your past experience as the reference point from which to judge the present. Yet this is unnatural because it is delusional. When you have learned to look on everyone with no reference at all to the past, either his or yours as you perceived it, you will be able to learn from what you see now. For the past can cast no shadow to darken the present unless you are afraid of light. And only if you are would you choose to bring darkness with you. And by holding it in your mind, see it as a dark cloud that shrouds your brothers and conceals their identity from your sight.
Much of what we're talking about right now, people do all the time, but they do so unconsciously. So every time you encounter someone, there's actually a choice of how you will react or engage with them. One choice would be to remember all your past experiences and have them fill your mind and let the past overwhelm your mind and react to that person according to past experiences. We have done that many times, so everybody here knows what we're talking about. The other is the solution that Holy Spirit would offer you. It's spoken about right here. When you have learned, so this is acquiring a new perception, a new relationship. When you've learned to look on everyone with no reference at all to the past, either his or yours. So your own past is involved in that as well. Then you'll be able to see that individual right now as they are. So, what we're saying is this is something we have to acquire. We have to choose to want to live in the now, to relate to people in the now, and be free of the past. Otherwise, the absence of a choice where you make no conscious effort whatsoever will cause you to forget and then lapse into lower level time based past judgments and utilize that. It takes an active engagement of your will to remember to live in the now. Noel?
This answers my question. How do we cleanse our minds of past impressions and judgments? And as you say, it's a matter of, I would say, recognizing and then choosing and just seeing that other person as namaste.
Yes. Yes. Another way that we say that is you have to be conscious of who you are, why you're here, what your relationship is to another person. You have to actively choose to be awake to those truths versus numbed out, forgetful, unconscious, uncaring, unengaged. Susie?
Yeah, what I've come to understand so much these are my mental habits from my lower self or false identity or Susie. And that's why I'll say it again. I have to do the lessons diligently over and over and over again, because those are reminders of right-mindedness and wrong-mindedness, or whatever the word is, true or false, love or fear. And I know now that all this other stuff is just who I thought I was. And if I continue to do the lessons, it's A Course in Miracles, right? A change in my thinking. That helps me change my thinking with the help of the Holy Spirit. And I used to think it was so difficult. It's not. It's just different. It's just a habit. So I'm trying to build my attitudinal muscles, and it's just, and then that becomes more of the norm. And that really is my natural state, right? But I didn't think it was. I thought my natural state was Susie, but that's just a story of who I made up. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Susie. Bonnie?
Yeah, I realize that this is the right way to operate. It certainly isn't easy. And isn't it just human for all of us to revert back to who we know of any individual upon meeting them?
That's a very interesting question, Bonnie. Isn't it simply natural, human, to use the past as our reference point? Well, here would be the way I would answer that, Bonnie. If you think of human beings in their lower state, then yes, to carry judgments from the past forward into the present is easy. You can do it almost without even trying. And it results in bringing grievances and judgments from the past forward, and thus we become antagonistic towards people. However, if you define human in terms of our highest possibilities, in terms of the Christ within you, then it's only human to recognize the light inside of someone and to forgive and to recognize the eternal truth is a part of all of us. So I think that the answer to your question really comes down to how do you think of humanity in our and I choose to think of humanity in terms of the Creator's plan for humanity, which is to bring us into the light.
I realize that this is the better way, but it certainly isn't easy, is it?
We would say it requires firm willingness and diligence and commitment. But Bonnie, so does raising kids.
Yeah, that too.
Okay. So these are qualities that people have. So does getting up every day and go to work require commitment and diligence. So this is not impossible.
Thank you.
Thank you. Julie, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I often go to the illusion of gravity and how we negotiate that. Talk about something that seems permanent and it's always there and there's no way to get around it, but that's not true. I mean, there are so many different ways that humans negotiate gravity. And so it's really two choices. You know, we could be bummed out about gravity. We could be resentful about gravity. But, you know, nonetheless, in order to be happy and healthy and useful to God's children, we negotiate gravity, regardless of our physical ability, which is also an illusion. I mean, you know, so, you know, if your heart is in it and you want to make it happen and you open yourself to the miracle that is available to everyone, it's possible to do it with a happy heart.
A happy learner, be a happy learner. Thank you for that, Julie. That was beautiful. Noelle?
I had an experience last night that just shows this so much. I suddenly got a message from a woman I know who I never really quite gravitated to. Pleasant, but nothing much I was judging. So it seemed like she needed help right away. So, and she gave me her phone number. So I called her, and what she wanted to know was what Course in Miracles groups I'm in, so that she could think about joining them. So I shared everything that I do with her, and we had a wonderful conversation for about a half hour, exchanged contact information, and I really felt connected to her now and saw that my judgment was wrong. And so now I opened up to her. And right now, in light of these readings, I'm seeing that she was a representation of exactly putting on to someone the past, whether it was about her or someone like her that I knew, and thinking, oh, she's not worth my time, that type of thing. But rather opening to, again, the Christ and the mutuality for all of us.
Lovely. Noelle, that's so helpful. You connecting the dots with your own experience and connecting that with what we read, our reading together today. Thank you for sharing that. So let's, before we go on, recall this statement at the end here. Basically, I would summarize it. You have a choice of bringing the light forward into the present or supporting your grievances, your complaints, and bringing the darkness forward. into life and into your relationships. It can be, it's a choice. We don't think of it as a choice. Choosing the light, as we said, is an active choice. It requires you remember who you are, why you're here, what is your purpose. Choosing to hold that in your mind, or forgetting and letting the lower mind have its way. David?
This darkness is in you. The Christ, as revealed to you now, has no past, for he is changeless, and in his changelessness lies your release. For if he is as he was created, there is no guilt in him. No cloud of guilt has risen to obscure him, and he stands revealed in everyone you meet, because you see him through himself. To be born again is to let the past go and look without condemnation upon the present. The cloud that obscures God's Son to you is the past. And if you would have it past and gone, you must not see it now. If you see it now in your illusions, it has not gone from you, although it is not there.
So we read just 2 paragraphs ago that when we have learned to look on everyone without reference to the past, then we'll be free when we have learned. So we want to understand what that is, what that takes. And part of it is in this transcendent idea of what the present is. And so here's a couple terms that will help you. It has to do with being changeless. It has to do with permanence, with continuity. Your spirit, your eternal spirit, has not changed since you were created in eternity. It is still the same spirit that the Creator brought forth in the beginning. It has not changed. And so therefore, that part of your true self is changeless. And in your changelessness lies your release. This is a beginning to be able to recognize how to use this key that will set you free. You must recognize there is a part of you that is eternal, that is forever, that was created perfectly, and therefore being created perfect, it doesn't need to improve. It doesn't need to change. It's beautiful as it was. And that is a part of your being, and that is always here and now. That is always with you. It's with you right now. In fact, it can never leave you because it is part of your eternal nature, your changelessness. When we talk about waking up and remembering, we're talking about your mind coming back to this understanding that I'm a changeless being. My mind drifted away and I forgot, but now it's come back to the remembrance of creation and of life. And so I'm renewed once again. You can think of it like being born again, whereas we were in some state of unconsciousness, preoccupied with the past or the future. To be born again is to come back, you bring your awareness back into the present. And this is available to us at any time and in any place. And this is also a gift that can be shared with others. You're bringing your mind back to the awareness of your eternal nature, of your changeless state, is something that you can practice so much for yourself that you can engage in it when you're with other people, and they too will sense that you have let go of their past. You have forgiven them, forgotten about the past, and are wholly invested in the now and the present. So it's when you have learned to let go of the past, then you will be released into the present, born again into the present. Noel?
So maybe it's not a matter of, quote, working hard to do this, but to, as you say, let go, open, become more aware, just let it in.
It really is. Thank you for distinguishing that, because people say that all the time. Wow, that's really hard. Bonnie said it earlier. Wow, this is not easy. All right. And we would like to morph that statement. It would be great if we could do it permanently here, if we could all do this at once. Instead of thinking it as difficult, think of it as very different from anything we're familiar with. A miracle is different from any of the methods and approaches of which we grew up with. It's different. In fact, the Holy Spirit does all the heavy lifting. She provides the program. She provides the guidance. She provides the understanding that you will need. She provides the illumination and encouragement. All you have to do is say, okay, count me in. I'm a part of it. So she does the heavy lifting, and we become co-participants, co-creators with her in that program. So as Kathy put on the chat, it's not difficult, but it's very different. To allow the Holy Spirit to guide your daily decisions is very different than the program the ego would have us to be involved in. Okay, so we're going to go deeper now on this key of being released, of forgetting the past, of living in the present, of recognizing our brothers as who they are in the present and letting go, forgiving all of the past, having our focus be on the now. This has deeper indicators still. David?
Time can release as well as imprison, depending on whose interpretation of it you use. Past, present, and future are not continuous unless you force continuity on them. You can perceive them as continuous and make them so for you. But do not be deceived and then believe that this is how it is. For to believe reality is what you would have it be, according to your use for it, is delusional. You would destroy time's continuity by breaking it into past, present, and future for your own purposes. You would anticipate the future on the basis of your past experience and plan for it accordingly. Yet by doing so, you are aligning past and future and not allowing the miracle, which could intervene between them to free you to be born again.
Mm-hmm. So in chapter 13, section 4, we read about the function of time. And we read that there's two views of what time is for, and that the spirit would see time as merely a temporary lesson in helping you to heal and return your mind to a state of peace and oneness. And that's all it's for. Everything else is an illusion, is a distraction. So, time can both be used for healing and for release, or it can be used as a delaying maneuver to distract us and keep us from our purpose and our intention. And so the very attitude and understanding that each of us has about how we utilize our day, our time, it's a view of yourself, the world, and what you're doing in it. That view can become so encroached upon by limiting factors that you will limit yourself, and thus, as it says here, by becoming so aligned with past and future, you not allow the miracle to free you to be born again. It's a perceptual, it's a function of the way you think about yourself, your relations, your life, and your time can be either covered over with dark clouds or illuminated by the light. Both of them are available to you according to the interpretation that you use. And one more thing, then we'll take some comments. It is baked into the ego's attitude. It's called ego autonomy. The ego wants to be in control, set the agenda, decide your interpretation for you. And in so doing, it says it right here, believe that reality is what you would have it for. That reality exists according to what you want to use it for. And so that belief, which is delusional, we have to be willing to let it go. Let me say one more thing. This is what we call a universal belief. It's not uniquely specific to yourself. It's shared by Bonnie, by all humans. And that is the belief that life is what I want it to be, is what I make it to be. And people are very confused about this. It comes out in terms of what is the meaning of life. And even after thousands of years of looking at that, there's still no clear-cut answer that satisfies everybody. And people walk away believing whatever they want to believe. The willingness to forgive that, to give it forth and let it go, so that you let reality be what it is, not what your little mind interpreted it to be. That shift which everyone must undergo in order to be free. That shift is fundamental to your being able to access the release from the ego constraints of time. Sandra?
So beautiful. Being born again is just this miraculous opportunity to recreate myself. And I have found that after every dark night of the soul that I experience, that ultimately I recreate myself. I am born again, stronger, more complete, more integrated. It's a beautiful gift. I'm complete.
It really is. Thank you for sharing that, Sandra. Okay, let's do a little experiential. Sorry to say little. Let's have an experience here for a moment. If you would, for a moment, close your eyes and allow your mind just to let go of whatever thoughts it was holding for the last few moments, just to be free, and turn within toward your own inner being, your own inner truth. And as you do so, it becomes more illuminated, more filled with light, and you will encounter a mirror as you turn within. And in that mirror, you will see a reflection of yourself. It's now that reflection will have your own judgments of yourself in it. If you have judged your own self, you will see yourself looking back at you, and you'll be aware of those judgments. To be born again, to be released, and to be free is to not carry any of those judgments with you, so that when you look in the mirror, you are independent, free, and forgiven of all guilt, of all past mistakes. And there's really just light there, just clarity, just beauty, just innocence. And so we're going to come back to awareness of our group and our meeting, and know that we can come and visit this inner mirror at any time. It's always there. And next time we come back, we will have forgiven parts of ourselves that we saw that are in need of forgiveness. But for right now, Holy Spirit, we give over all of our self-judgments, all of our past judgments of ourselves. We gladly release and let go of any dark clouds of guilt that may still be in our mind. And we, rather than processing them ourselves, we give them to you to heal. And we trust that you will bring about a complete healing as we allow it. Thank you, sweet Spirit. Thank you for this path and for our healing. Thank you. So we'll come back into the awareness of the group. And when you're ready, gently open your eyes. So that mirror, of Course in Miracles says there's a mirror in your mind, but the mirror is covered over with all kinds of past incriminations that we've acquired. And that the goal of this course is to clean the mirror of our mind and make it free of all past illusions, all past incriminations. Thus, we see ourselves as we truly are. David?
The miracle enables you to see your brother without his past, and so perceive him as born again. His errors are all past, and by perceiving him without them, you are releasing him. And since his past is yours, you share in this release. Let no dark cloud out of your past obscure him from you, for truth lies only in the present, and you will find it if you seek it there. You have looked for it where it is not, and therefore have not found it. Learn, then, to seek it where it is, and it will dawn on eyes that see. Your past was made in anger, and if you use it to attack the present, you will not see the freedom that the present holds.
So this activity of seeing oneself clearly is transpersonal, meaning that it affects your inner world and your outer relations equally. If you see guilt and judgment in your inner world, you will also project that outward onto others. If you see that guilt outward with others, you will project it inward as well. And so this experience that we had where you enter into your inner world and look for the light there has effects both towards your own past as well as towards the way you see others in their past. Bonnie?
I was wondering, if you see something, let's say in a younger person, that you feel is inhibiting their progress in light of what we're reading, do you identify it to that person?
So one of the key parts of what you asked, Bonnie, was that you see this and you identify it as inhibiting them. We have to be careful with where that message comes from. This is inhibiting them. Because if that message comes out of our own self-judgment, self-diminished sense of self, it's often that we go looking for the same problems in others. And so what we're really doing is projecting our own self-judgment out on others. I think the Course in Miracles would simplify the matter, Bonnie, and say there's no need for us to make those judgments about other people. What we do instead is we recognize when somebody is calling for love and calling for help. Without trying to diagnose the specific of how they got to that state, we just realize that they're asking for a hand, for help. And thus we free ourselves of being a judge and only respond to where we are needed. And so this has to be learned. This is a skill that is acquired of that leaves us free of judgment and being here for the purpose of helping others so that we might heal ourselves and might heal others. So that's a short version of the answer that the course would offer, Bonnie. There are longer version. In one way, the entire textbook is a longer version of being reluctant to decide what's wrong with someone else and passing on that, and instead being attuned to where we can be helpful, where we can be of service, and following Holy Spirit's guidance on when we should intervene in help and service. Okay. All right, we're going to move on.
Judgment and condemnation are behind you, and unless you bring them with you, you will see that you are free of them. Look lovingly upon the present, for it holds the only things that are forever true. All healing lies within it, because its continuity is real. It extends to all aspects of the sonship at the same time, and thus enables them to reach each other. The present is before time was, and will be when time is no more. In it are all things that are eternal, and they are one. Their continuity is timeless, and their communication is unbroken, for they are not separated by the past. Only the past can separate, and it is nowhere.
Mm-hmm. So in the ego's worldview, everything is all fragmented and disjointed and unrelated. Nothing means nothing to anything else. It's just a world of separation. The Holy Spirit's antidote to that is spoken about here. It's a sense of continuity. And this is a profound idea. It's not easy to grasp, but it is different. And so it's the sense that creation is continuous. Your being is forever. Your relationships of your being to everyone else in the sonship are forever. They're continuous. They are brought to your awareness in the now, in the present, which is always with you. The present moment is forever a gift to you. This is an illuminated understanding of what you're experiencing. It transcends the lower human view of these things. It's more of an enlightened view. It's aware of your relationship to everything. It was given us by the Creator. The Creator. So let's approach it from not from the human perspective, but from the Creator's perspective. Can you understand and appreciate the idea that the Creator is in relationship to everything and to everyone all at once? yes, most people can accept that God has a relationship to everything simultaneously. But when we say you have that same relationship, that's where the mind boggles down and says, whoa, wait a minute. Well, there's only one creation. There's only one reality. There's only one mind. And there's only one relationship. And you are definitely a vital part of that reality, that mind, that relationship. And the present is your way of recognizing, it's called recognizing, to know it again, to recognize, and to know what you knew before you were born, to know it now in the present. It's a recognition that all things are one and that they have a continuity that is timeless. And this, I know this is a transcendent idea. It's if all things are related and interconnected, we would say they have a communication link between them. It's a relationship link, and that link is unbroken. So let's remember what continuity, the dictionary definition of continuity is an unbroken and consistent existence of something. Unbroken. So here's an examples of continuity. Julie mentioned earlier gravity. Gravity is continuous. It doesn't take a break. It's on all the time. In fact, the laws of physics are continuous. They operate all the time. So do the laws of mind. And I mean the true laws of mind, not as understood in confusion, but as understood by the Holy Spirit. The laws of mind are continuous. So are the laws of love. Continuous. They operate everywhere for everyone all at once. They're continuous. Your being is continuous. It operates according to the laws of love. It's consistent with the laws of love. And the present is your gift. We call it a present. It's a gift to you that enables you to remember, to recognize that existence, that reality. So it took me a long time before any of that really made sense. I read the words and I read them again, and I still felt like I was reading science fiction. And then one day, the clouds lifted and it was just clear. And I could understand it was true. And it was true of everyone and everywhere. So don't berate yourself if it doesn't make perfect sense right now, but allow this idea of continuity throughout eternity and with all creation, with everyone and everything. Allow that idea just to rest in your mind, and don't fight it, don't resist it, don't judge it. And think of it like planting a seed that the Holy Spirit will water and bring life forth from that seed of life. David?
The present offers you your brothers in the light that would unite you with them and free you from the past. Would you then hold the past against them? Or if you do, you are choosing to remain in the darkness that is not there and refusing to accept the light that is offered you. For the light of perfect vision is freely given as it is freely received, and can be accepted only without limit. In this one still dimension of time that does not change, and where there is no sight of what you were, you look at Christ and call his witnesses to shine on you, because you called them forth. And they will not deny the truth in you, because you looked for it in them and found it there.
Mm-hmm. So this continuity with all of creation, with eternity, can best be understood as a perfect vision, a gift of a vision that we cannot yet see perfectly, but that has already been seen by others. It's a Christ saw this vision and wishes to share it with your mind, your awareness. Our role is to be willing to say yes and accept that vision. And as we do this, realize there's a battle that goes on between the ego and you're accepting this vision. This vision threatens the ego's principles. This vision threatens its grip over your interpretations and your awareness. So if you sense that you're wanting to refuse this vision for yourself, offer that up to the Holy Spirit. Acknowledge it. Say, there's Holy Spirit, there's part of me that's fighting this, but I don't want to fight with Spirit. I give this into your hands and ask that you bring about my healing. I see it, but I can't manage this fight. I'm asking you to serve in your role as healer for me. And it is a gift. There's so much that can be said about it, but it begins with your willingness to accept it for yourself. There's a subtle point here about that acceptance that I thought we'd point out. Most people, when we begin to accept this vision of continuity with eternity into our mind, the ego will still attempt to limit the vision to some kind of interpretation that your own mind will impose on the vision. So we'll call it a limited vision. This is ego working now. It's not the light as it's given, it's the light as you think you understand it. So true healing is to let the light be what it is without imposing your own limited understanding of it on it. And this requires true childlike trust. Holy Spirit, I trust that this vision is pure as it is. And even though I haven't seen all of it yet, I allow it to become my own. I trust you that even without understanding all the vision, that this vision is for our good, for our healing, that it's true, and that it's enduring, and that it's for everyone. So I accept it without of the ability to explain it. And I thank you, Holy Spirit, that this is a gift, and I allow it to continue to grow and expand in my mind. So it's an unlimited vision, and it can be accepted only without limit. And so it's trust. This requires trust, just like when you were 5 years old and your caregiver crossed the street with you. You took their hand and you trusted them to guide you to the other side. We're doing the same thing here. We're trusting the Holy Spirit to guide us to the other side. Sandra?
How I experience that in my life is I turn it all over to my Holy Spirit, all the judgments, all the assessments. And then I say, and God's got a plan. And that helps me just go, pass right through it. I'm complete.
Yeah. It really is that beautiful what you said. God's got a plan that I trust in. I don't need to create my own plan independent of God. I just trust in the bigger plan. And part of that is that I'll be told anything I need to do when the time comes. I'll be given inspiration, direction by Holy Spirit if there's anything you need me to do. By the way, I don't want to throw too much at you here, but when we talk about the stillness, the inner quiet, this is what we're talking about. This still dimension of time. It's not in constant motion and in constant change. It's already complete. It's an interconnection, an unbroken communication with all creation. It's complete. So it's fulfilled its destiny. Therefore it's still, and it's perfect. And so and you can think of it as time does not change its nature. It does not change with time. It's a still dimension. We'll cover more of that at another time. David?
Now is the time of salvation, for now is the release from time. Reach out to all your brothers and touch them with the touch of Christ. In timeless union with them is your continuity, unbroken because it is wholly shared. God's guiltless Son is only light. There is no darkness in him anywhere, for he is whole. Call all your brothers to witness to his wholeness, as I am calling you to join with me. Each voice has a part in the song of redemption, the hymn of gladness, and thanksgiving for the light to the Creator of light. The holy light that shines forth from God's Son is the witness that his light is of his Father.
And we're going to do the next paragraph too.
Shine on your brothers in remembrance of your Creator, for you will remember him as you call forth the witnesses to his creation. Those whom you heal bear witness to your healing, for in their wholeness you will see your own. And as your hymns of praise and gladness rise to your Creator, He will return your thanks in His clear answer to your call. For it can never be that His Son called upon Him and remained unanswered. His call to you is but your call to Him, and in Him you are answered by His peace.
So in this latter section, we're operating from a sense that the continuity, your continuity with eternity is beginning to dawn upon your mind. You've accepted it, it's growing, and you get glimpses from time to time of what that experience is like. And you realize that your continuity is part of everyone's continuity. It's an interlocking union with everyone and everything. And that those who aren't aware of it have a calling from their soul for this awareness. It's a longing to recognize the truth of their true self. We refer to it as a call from their soul. And so our part as a miracle worker is to be a witness to this call, to recognize this call from other people's soul. So Bonnie, this is what we were referring to when you asked your question about another person who's troubled. What we do is we become recognize the call of their soul and respond to that. We don't ignore it. We're not cavalier in the not caring about it, but we recognize it and then ask Holy Spirit if there's anything she would have us do in this moment. And so our soul then is responding to the call of another soul, a call for help. And by recognizing, this is important, by recognizing the call of another soul and the call within your own soul, you learn to recognize the call of spirit. Your ability to discern the voice of the spirit within gets stronger as you pay attention to these calls for healing and wholeness. It strengthens in your awareness. David?
Child of light, you know not that the light is in you, yet you will find it through its witnesses, for having given light to them, they will return it. Each one you see in light brings your light closer to your awareness. Love always leads to love. The sick who ask for love are grateful for it, and in their joy they shine with holy thanks. And this they offer you who gave them joy. They are your guides to joy, for having received it of you, they would keep it. You have established them as guides to peace, for you have made it manifest in them. And seeing it, its beauty calls you home.
So years ago, in reading Course in Miracles in a group in Asheville, North Carolina, I assigned myself the goal of finding the joy that they were talking about in the Course. I said, well, joy, if joy is true, I want it for myself. And that would be evidence of a miracle, having found joy. And then the question is, well, how does one find joy? You can't manufacture it. You can't, you're not going to get it by reading about it, being able to say nice words about it. But it is interpersonal. It is transpersonal. It's something that's shared among people that care and love. It's a gift. And it can only be experienced in relationships through giving and receiving. Joy is a resultant that comes about through giving and receiving, through being helpful with others' healing and with your own. They, as it says right here, they become your guides to joy. For having received it of you, they would keep it. You have to traffic in joy. You have to be willing to be a trader of joy. I'm using common language here. You have to be willing to be in exchange with yourself and with others. And so, and so just an update, that was almost 10 years ago. Still working on that goal, still working on it, but we've removed a lot of clutter in the meantime that would interfere with that. And that there are moments. I have my moments here. The promise from the Course is continuous joy. So the bar is set higher, still more to go. This is a gift that is already within us, but we must release ourselves from the past and from our story about other people's past, or else our mind becomes too cluttered with those matters to experience joy. They become blocks to the awareness of love and joy. Okay, we'll go on.
There is a light that this world cannot give, yet you can give it as it was given you. And as you give it, it shines forth to call you from the world and follow it. For this light will attract you as nothing in this world can do. And you will lay aside the world and find another. This other world is bright with love, which you have given it. And here will everything remind you of your Father and his Holy Son. Light is unlimited and spreads across this world in quiet joy. And those you brought with you will shine on you, and you will shine on them in gratitude because they brought you here. Your light will join with theirs in power so compelling that it will draw the others out of darkness as you look upon them.
So much can be said about any given paragraph, so I acknowledge we're just cherry picking things here and there that hopefully are helpful. I find this very helpful. Your light does not stand alone. Your light stands in union with all the light of everyone. And it's strong because the light is everywhere. And this is more than just words. it's a phenomena that follows the laws of spirit. So it functions on the spiritual dimension, not on the intellectual or the physical. Your light will join with theirs in power so compelling it will draw the others out of darkness as you look on them. And so it's part of this continuity with all creation. It's an unbroken communication. It's an interrelationship of your nature, your being, with all other living things. We can use the idea of it's in the form of light or spiritual illumination. And when it joins together, when you think of the 7 billion people on our planet, that's a lot of light joining together. It's already on the spiritual plane, there are no barriers to that. And what our healing is involved is removing all the clutter so that we can recognize this light. As it says here, light is unlimited and spreads across this world in quiet joy. So the note I make to myself is don't limit this light in my mind. Don't let myself diminish the power of this light in my mind by believing that just because I can't see it or recognize it always, don't allow myself to think of it as less. It is the light of all creation. It has a power that will endure forever. David?
Awaking unto Christ is following the laws of love of your free will, and out of quiet recognition of the truth in them. The attraction of light must draw you willingly, and willingness is signified by giving. Those who accept love of you become your willing witnesses to the love you gave them, and it is they who hold it out to you. In sleep, you are alone, and your awareness is narrow to yourself. And that is why the nightmares come. You dream of isolation because your eyes are closed. You do not see your brothers, and in the darkness, you cannot look upon the light you gave to them.
So I know today's reading is a lot. We want to boil it down to something that you can apply to yourself this week. And it's found in this paragraph and the next one, which are the last two paragraphs of this section. So I would ask that you review these last two paragraphs again later today. In light of what we already have said as a foundation, this is like the pinnacle here. And it has to do with the laws of love and this role of spiritual illumination, of freeing your mind from the darkness and illuminate the light that illuminates your awareness. And it is this, to be illuminated, to be aware, is a part of your nature. And as it says here, it will draw you willingly. The attraction of light must draw you willingly. You must be willing the light for it to draw you in towards and become part of it. Your willingness is then testified or exhibited by your giving it to others. It's a very simple principle, the laws of love. You must be willing to accept it for yourself, and your acceptance is reflected in your giving it to others. And those who accept your love become your witnesses to your experience. So, in other words, this is the evidence. This is the proof, is in your relationship with others, that you're willing to be helpful to others to heal. And in so doing, they experience healing. And that's a witness to you that these laws of love are operating. Yeah. Final paragraph.
And yet the laws of love are not suspended because you sleep. And you have followed them through all your nightmares and have been faithful in your giving, for you were not alone. Even in sleep has Christ protected you, ensuring the real world for you when you awake. In your name he has given for you and given you the gifts he gave. God's Son is still as loving as his Father. Continuous with his Father, he has no past apart from him. So he has never ceased to be his Father's witness and his own. Although he slept, Christ's vision did not leave him. And so it is that he can call unto himself the witnesses that teach him that he never slept.
So, in truth, as a part of the continuity of all creation, we are continuous with the Creator. And everything that is a part of our being is a part of the Creator's being. So that's the truth. The ego offers a narrative that you have a private past, that you have a separate past, one that is unique to you, that makes you different than everybody else, a past that is apart from the Creator. And that is what the separation hinges around, the attempt to continue to maintain a private past that makes you different from everyone else, and to project that past into the present so that it maintains ego continuity. This is different than spirit continuity. It's the attempt of the ego to keep itself going by projecting the past into the future and saying that things will never change. So, two different narratives. One, that your continuity is with the Creator, and that everything that is true about you is true of your relationship to all creation. And the other, one that would keep you separate and embroiled in a cycle of repeating the past into the future. So we read earlier that it requires the acceptance of this truth requires your willingness to accept it for yourself. And so I'm grateful that each of us are in our own way indicating that we're willing to accept this vision as our own. Kathy?
So I'm thinking this might be something like another step for me, to live in the present, because I've done that to what extent I thought I was doing it, but I'm thinking now in paragraph 3, it says, you must not see it now. You know, the past is gone. that we're seeing the clouds, and that if I see it in my illusion, that I'm living in the past. So if I'm in the illusion, so since I still do have triggers and things like that, I'm trying to look for like a practical application. So I used to turn away from the ego like 180 degrees when I would be confronted with it. I had that visual. I don't know. So if I'm catching myself reflecting too much on the past, because I want to look and see where I could do better, right? But I don't want to dwell on it for very long. So I just have to refocus my mind on the present moment all the time, it sounds like.
Actually, so what you're speaking to, Kathy, is very helpful. Thank you for bringing that out. When these things do arise, you're right. We don't want to, as you said, we don't want to dwell on it, and we don't want to amplify our judgments, our interpretations of the past. But we do want to acknowledge that there's something that somehow is still in our mind, still lingering there, and immediately transfer the healing that we seek into the hands of the Holy Spirit, and not feel as though we can manage by ourselves. And so it's a trusting that whatever it is that's still lingering around there, I don't need to analyze it, but I do recognize there's something. And Holy Spirit, it's in your hands now. Thank you for Holy Spirit for taking it. And so this is really a deeper level of trust, of not self-managing your own healing, but trusting the representative of the Creator for healing, even when we don't understand all the ins and outs of it. The guidance we're given is not to try to understand insanity,
Right.
not to try to understand what is non-understandable, but to welcome healing and put it in the hands of the Holy Spirit.
Okay, so immediately when I recognize something, give it over. Don't even try to figure it out myself at all.
Correct.
Okay, that's a new thing for me.
Yeah, more storytelling is just an invitation to separate and tell a story about it.
Right. Okay, thank you so much. That's
very helpful. It really is, Kathy. But also not to repress when it comes up. Okay, let's say something from my past comes up and it's there in my mind. Not to repress it and push it out like it's not there. But so there's really three choices: repress it like it wasn't there, engage with it at length, which is just to separate and tell stories about it, make it real, or immediately to hand it to the Holy Spirit. And only the third one, the first two you can do without a Holy Spirit, because it's a separate strategy. Only the third one allows you to join your mind with the source of all healing. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up and pointing it out. Sandra?
That was great dialogue. The way that I trust, the way that I experience my trust for the Holy Spirit and my trust for myself is to see myself and my brothers as innocent. Just generally, I just do that, period. I still may have some judgments, but I trump those judgments with seeing myself and my brothers as innocent. I'm complete.
Thank you. All right. Well, that was a mouthful, and we're over time here. David, I'll let you have the last comment today.
Thank you. I wanted to make a personal reading. section 3.7. It's really awesome. Thank you.
And we'll do that tomorrow. Yeah. All right, my friends. Wow. Give yourself a hug for opening your mind, your heart, and your soul to this profound, unlimited vision and allowing it in. Yes, there's more growth to come and there's processing that happens. This is how we do it. We introduce the idea and are then willing to let Holy Spirit guide the lessons that will stem from this. So I honor your willingness to heal. I honor the light within you. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.
Hold the Christ in you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, David.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
thank you, David. Thank you,
Thank
Jonica.
you.
Thank you all.
The light in
Thank
us
you.
and the light
Thanks,
in
Jonica.
everyone.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, David, too.